Okay, so we will call the March 30th meeting of the Topsham Community Center Committee to order at 5:17 p.m. We have Kim Pride absent today. Everybody else is here. And no guests?
No guests.
Okay. Does anybody have changes to the agenda that we would want to discuss? Going once, going twice, great. Are there any individual committee role updates to share or individual meetings?
I can share some stuff. So I spoke to, her name is Laura Rutherford. She's a VP of Development at the Maine College of Art and Design. She was on the video for the online Capital Campaign Pro company that I had sent to you guys. So I emailed her and I said, hey, can we chat since, you know, you're in that video? And she responded right away. We set up a time and we chatted. So just to briefly go over our conversation, they started working with them just a couple of years ago in 2004. Now, keep in mind, their campaign goal was about 27 million, but it was multifaceted because they did an annual fund, they did endowment, they did capital, they did the whole 9 yards, and it is still ongoing. She did talk to another company that actually did their feasibility study, and that cost them, she told me, close to 90,000 to do their feasibility study, which I thought was very expensive. So she didn't have her financials in front of her, but she said that they did pay a monthly retainer. So I'm not sure what that was. They did have staff and volunteers. And so again, that's just another way that these places differentiate from what we have. She did say, let's see, go through my notes here. She did recommend to do the feasibility study with them if we choose to work with them. She said that, let's see, some of the pros were linking you to other resources and funding options. She said relationship building is the key. And I know that our consultants have told us that we're the ones that really need to go out and build those relationships and make those connections in the community. She said what they do for you is they send notes and templates after each time you meet. So there's very customization to what they do for you. She did also suggest, should we choose to work with them, to ask to interview 3 advisors with their company, just to make sure it's a good fit. She talked to a couple, 2 or 3 herself, and she said, while she didn't feel like they, you know, like, it's not like they wouldn't do a good job, but just to have that relationship and kind of that vibe, you know. And so that was pretty much it. She spoke very highly. She said they were really good to work with. The customization is a high point. And she said that they, depending on how you set up and how much you want them to do for you, you could meet like once a month, once every 2 weeks, you know, all customization. And again, that would, you know, that would drive the cost as well as to what you wanted to do in that respect. But she's very pleased working with them. So just to know that that's an option. She said, if you ever have any more questions and want to talk to me some more, she said, just let me know. She's super pleasant, super nice. So I thought it was a good conversation to have with her. At least we've explored our options and done our due diligence. So yeah, so that was that.
Can you say her name again?
Laura Rutherford. It's RETH Erford. And again, she's the VP of Development at Maine College of Art and Design. So they're still raising tons of money, obviously, because they have a huge program. And like I said, theirs is very multifaceted. So, and they have a lot more people for staff and volunteers, obviously. So that was that.
That it for you?
Yeah, do you want me to, wait for the, you want me to do the capital campaign? Or do you want,
I think I can wait.
wait,
Until
okay,
the next one.
okay.
I can say for external communications that there was one email that we'll probably review or discuss and that everybody was made aware of. So I don't know where we want to go with that. Is that for you?
I think it's
Sure.
further down on the agenda.
Okay, great. And then are there any other?
Six, looks like, yeah.
Okay, I was looking for it. Oh, okay, great. And also Kim was going to report out on internal communications, but she got some info from you. Do you want to do that?
Basically, I told her about the one that we'll discuss for capital campaign number 8, and then the one that I just told you.
Great.
So,
Thank you. Okay, moving on. So building progress and RFP update from Mark.
Okay. Which I guess is maybe more like 6. Because we really can't do anything as far as the RFP until we know we've got access to the site.
Okay.
And the other thing I'll probably do, because I think it's more important than the RFP for the building right now, is the next thing I work on is probably going to be some suggested language to change the TIF rules so that you can, because Denise Teppo told me she'd like to have that in May to start working through the pieces of the legislature. So that's probably the next thing I'll focus on is the changes to allow TIF money to be used for a community center, or hopefully we can get it through the legislature. But so that'll be the next thing I work on. So I don't know if you want me to roll in to do 6 now or wait till we get there.
I think we're ready for 6.
All right, then we'll do 6 now.
Unless anybody else had some major building updates to share.
Shall I start with 6?
Yeah, you can set the stage if you want. Yeah.
Okay. Well, just to let you know, 6 does have a happy ending that Mark will explain. But because I added it to the agenda, I feel like I should tell you sort of what happened. We hadn't heard a word since the December 1st meeting of the fair. So I'm thinking no news is good news. And then March 19th, 11 days ago, Kathy Jurgen, the president, emailed me and asked me to speak with Mark and give a synopsis of what was said at our membership meeting on December 1st. So I thought I went through the right channel of events. I did not go speak to Mark. I told her we would be meeting on March 30th and we would discuss it then. Personally, it's been very stressful for me because we're so close to our dream. And yet I've been volunteering at the fair for 44 straight years and I don't have a clue as to which way they're thinking. So that's how stressful, worrisome, agony filled. We don't spend a lunch together where we don't discuss this and wonder which way it's going. So Kathy was trying to ask me to ask Mark. The consensus at the meeting was half of the people didn't want it at all. So that was an immediate, no way, Jose, negative response. The other half said maybe, but we absolutely do not want to cross by the football field. You have to plan something else. What I'm thinking is there was some discussion of Mark's map is great, but I did sort of a a different one that might explain it a little better. Kathy wanted, to see that funny little jut out part on the top? That is a beautiful grassy lawn area that the fair owns, and at the very end is our sign that you can see from the coastal connector. She wanted to come off of Community Drive. Well, she meaning, this is what the members said that night. Go straight up towards our sign and turn directly to the right. Well, I was under bombardment that night, so I wasn't gonna argue with those people then, but I clearly know that there's a huge gully between that beautiful sign and the next piece over, which is a very, very strict wetland area that the state had to put in when they put in the bypass.
And the state owns.
And the state, I'm assuming they own that.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. So I knew her plan was not gonna work, but I had to kind of lay low to see what the progress was going to be. And if you can see it on our map,
This is that. What?
yeah.
This is what your sign is.
So I thought, well, I'll bring this to the board. Maybe Mark can work his miracles. Maybe he can get a pathway through that wetlands before I rattle any cages. I just want to see where we are. And to end up with the story, I think there's been some discussion between Mark and Kathy. What I did not know after putting this on the agenda is that she asked someone else to come in who's not serving on the board, but is a lifelong member of the fair, to come in and discuss with Mark another idea of going kind of around that number 48, which we called the Frost property. Instead of going straight up and directly over, he wanted to do kind of a zigzag thing around. So anyway, that's where we stand. Mark will fill in on all of the other pieces. I just thought it needed to be added to the agenda since they sort of scared me with the March 19th request for this. And I know that we can't go forward unless we make a decision, so.
So I think what prompted probably your communication was I had sent things to Kathy in late January and hadn't heard anything back. So before we met again, I wanted to check on the
Oh,
status.
okay,
So I emailed Kathy, forwarded what I had sent her in late January and said, just wanted to make sure you got this. And she's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize it or get it or whatever. And so I said, yeah, no worries. And so that then must be she circulated or something, and then people came back to her with the comments about someone said they didn't want it too close to the football field and wanted it more above their property or something. So my first thought was, I'm not sure how much more space there is because the football field is basically like right here. So then Mark Ponziani came in, and he knows the fact that this is owned by the state, but he was focused on this piece that the fair got around the same time that the highway ended or whatever, because it's called the Frost property.
yes. And it's marked on the map I made with those little dotted lines. So you kind of have to turn the map.
So his concern was, he said, the fair's worried about if our road went like this, it would be hard for them to access this area and use it usefully. And I think we probably, if we end up with like a 6-foot sidewalk / bike path or whatever beside our road, I don't think we necessarily, it wouldn't be so safe to have people crossing that routinely anyway. So what Mark and I talked about is, I said, what if I change the draft agreement? So instead of saying it goes in the area between the football field and the border, what if I just say the 50-foot strip as closely as possible goes along the northern border of the fair property? So that in the area of the football field, it doesn't make much of a difference because we'd be here. But then we come up, somewhere in 48, this area, so that this isn't cut off from the rest of the fairgrounds. And Mark says, yeah, that's great. And so he said, you'll want to watch this corner. He said, because he said it's kind of tight in there, but I'm sure it can be worked with, somehow. I asked Mark, I said, do you think there's at least 50 feet between the football field and the property border? And he said he thinks there is. He thinks it's more than 50 feet. So I sent then Kathy back a different draft of the agreement that said that the right of way will be located, 50 feet in width, is close as reasonably possible to the northern border of the fairgrounds property. And she emailed back, okay, great, she seemed happy with that. Now, again, I don't know that she doesn't realize that they don't own this, but Mark certainly does. And basically, this is the only place it can go. It can't go in this.
Yeah.
That has all kinds of special rules that it need permission from all kinds of environmental agencies. There's no way someone's gonna grant permission to go through that, so.
And I think the important part is that folks understand that this had to happen before tonight because Mark's working on the warrant for town meeting and the language had to be in town meeting correctly. So that's when I kind of emailed you guys and said, don't worry, we'll talk about it tonight. I didn't have all the access or all the information,
Yeah.
but I knew that Mark was dealing with them directly and taking
Yeah.
care of that part.
So on the map that I gave you, if you look across the bypass, those are the two plots that the Topsham Fair lost when they put in the bypass. So we had to sell those. There was absolutely no way they would be worth anything to the fair being across the highway. And that was the time that we had enough money to purchase that landlocked piece that we call the Frost property, which was what, number 48 on your map?
Yeah.
Because those people were willing to sell. It did not do them any good. They couldn't have access to it. So that's the only reason we have that little piece when we had to give up the two on the other side of the highway.
And then this piece, I guess there was a line, the Frost property was, I guess, here. And then this piece the town has is the remainder of what was called the Hickey property.
Mhm.
And this little piece, I don't know if the state might have given to the fair or sold it, one or the other. So
That's right.
anyway, they got all put together, so. But this is one of the DOT maps that's in the registry of deeds. And the state took from the fair 3.16 acres to be used for the highway and 5.1 acres for mitigation. That's this piece here, that's wetlands mitigation. So the fair does not own it at this point, the DOT does. So this is what, if the select board approves this going on the warrant this week, it's not that the whole agreement is about 2 pages with a bunch of mucky muck stuff. But the key things for the townspeople to know to authorize the select board to go into it are that the town would be getting a 50-foot wide easement from Community Way to the 21-acre town-owned lot. This is between 196, the Topsham Fair property and the bypass. In return, the Topsham Fair would get access to any utilities that it installed within the easement, so they could tap into the water line, power line, sewer line. The town would install a gate at the location selected by the Topsham Fair to control access. And the town would give the EMS coverage that's customarily provided the fair each year. And the agreement actually says it's like for the horse racing. And then it's for, I think it's Wednesday through Saturday, 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. Right now, the fair pays a fee for that. It's about $10,000 in total. They'd get that on an ongoing basis at no charge. And then what we started a couple of years ago in response to someone at town meeting that they asked for explanations of some of the, so the bottom part is just an explanation of what the warrant's trying to accomplish.
I have one question, because I love this. It's vague enough, it's perfect enough. I think the communication is perfect. And let's say the selectmen agree to this. How do I respond next December when the membership says, well, wait a minute, we told you we didn't want the access to be next to the football field? What do I tell them then?
My understanding, and you'd know better than me because I was at the meeting.
And they have votes.
But I thought they empowered the board to enter into agreement if they thought it saw fit.
They did, and that was the best thing that came out of that meeting, because it's a lot easier to talk to 11 people. But the reason Kathy brought that March thing up, doing her due diligence as a president, is to relay the message from the members. So what if they,
Well, I would think
what if
that,
they get all riled up again and turn the 11 people against the?
This is a binding legal agreement. So as of the time, if the select board gets the approval at town meeting And if, and again, I don't know because I wasn't there,
Mhm.
but if the board of directors has the power to execute this based on the authority they got in December, if we all sign this in June or July, whatever it happens, then it gets recorded in the registry of deeds, and then both parties are bound to it. So if the town at some point votes to go ahead with the community center, the town's gonna have to give the EMS coverage and the access to the water, and the fair's gonna have to give the right of way. So it's kind of like a done deal.
Okay, no matter where it is, wherever you end up.
Yeah.
As long as,
Good, I feel
as
better.
long as the fair board
Yeah.
accepts it.
Thank you.
And the exact language says a 50-foot right of way as close as reasonably possible to the northern border. But the northern border is, and I sent her the tax map and everything, so it should be pretty, I'll actually show you guys the email I sent her.
That's good. That's great. I'm really happy. Thank you for doing all that.
Last Tuesday or Wednesday from her. Are you talking about?
Yeah, let's see. So this is what I sent Kathy after meeting with Mark. I told her that Mark came in, I said, Mark asked to have it be as close to the northern border as possible, the fairgrounds property, so it doesn't bisect it, which I agree makes sense. I said it wouldn't make much of a difference in the area of the football field if the wetlands are the boundary, but it would definitely make a difference for the fair with regard to the former Frost property, tax lot 48. Then I gave her the language that I changed in the attorney's draft. So it now says as close to the northerly border of the Topsham Fair property as possible. Struck the language where it talked about the football field. And then I included tax map, and then pointed out that, where the main property is in purple, and then the Hickey property is lot 48. So I think I certainly gave all the information so that we could all be on the same page.
Okay. Good.
Oh, that would be helpful if I actually shared this, sorry.
When is the next fair meeting?
I knew I could count on your magic working. Not till April 21st, I don't believe. Half of them are in Florida. Yeah, that's why it's so hard.
Mark, can you clarify something on this for me?
Yeah.
In the bottom explanation, it says, this is an agreement to grant an easement rather than an easement itself, because it will not go into effect until such time that the town takes an affirmative vote at a future town meeting to construct the community center. Okay, so what would need to happen then is the select board agrees upon this, and then it goes to a vote. The vote goes through, then it becomes an actual easement?
So then once, let's say that we either vote for a bond or the expended,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
Then we go back to the fairgrounds and said, okay, now we're ready for the right of way.
Okay,
But what this signed agreement could be used as a ability to force something, if all of a sudden they balk.
okay, and
This
didn't they also say that part of the thing they were looking for in agreement was that it would not be used for anything else, like to build apartment buildings or something like that too,
And that is written into the
into the,
draft
all the other
itself.
pages?
But the
Okay.
key, and in consult with the town attorney and stuff, for town meeting, we tried to focus on the key
Yeah,
elements to the
streamline
taxpayers.
it, sure, sure.
And the other side is that parcel of land, 1A, was given to the town by the state with clear stipulation that it was for recreational
Right,
purposes.
right.
Yeah, so we couldn't use
We couldn't
it for
get it on,
subdivision.
right,
In fact,
Yeah.
if we tried to put a
Yeah.
subdivision there, it automatically reverts to the state as far as
Yeah.
ownership.
Go back to that.
So follow-up question to Lynn's question, if I'm understanding it correctly. This all gets approved, gets signed this year. We don't build a road for 5 years. It's all just sitting there waiting.
Yep.
Their fair's still paying for EMS every year when they need it for the fair because we haven't built the
Right.
road. Okay. So
Okay,
that's what the
Yeah.
pre-authorization, it
Yeah.
means if we never build it,
right,
everything stays as is.
Yeah.
But once we actually get ready to build the road,
Yeah.
then we
Yeah.
can call on this.
And I don't know if you guys are aware, but and Mark kind of hit on it a little bit, for many years, the Topsham EMS had a booth at the fair that they were allowed to have there free. It didn't cost anything. And so the town would provide the EMS coverage, and the EMS people would run the booth and make the profit from it. So it was a wash both ways.
Right, yeah.
No, now there no longer is really a volunteer force in our fire and EMS crew. They're pretty much, I mean, they show up if there's a big one, but they don't do as much as they used to. And there's nobody that wants to manage that booth. So did they give the booth back to the fair? They gave the booth back to the fair. And that's why the fair is now paying, because there's nothing being given in
There's no exchange.
no exchange. So just so you kind of have a better picture of, that's been around forever since I've been here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
This is what I thought I was reading. I thought you saw this as I was reading it. But my point is, this is the red line language that I offered them.
Yeah.
And then this is the piece of the tax map that I showed them and pointed out that the fair was the purple and the 48's their hickey piece. And so I think I've done everything I can to communicate that
Right.
what we're looking for and that where their northern border is. and all that.
So now it's a wait and see if both sides agree.
So if the select board says, yeah, go ahead, put it on the warrant this Thursday, then there'll be a public hearing on the warrant. Usually not too many changes can be after that, especially with something like this. Usually that's more people might complain about money things. And then on the night of the 16th, the final warrant set, and then Friday morning, we give it to Charlie Crosby, so we get it printed. And then the town meeting will be on March 13th.
a copy
May
of the warrant will go out.
Sorry,
in
May
the-
13th. Yeah, so.
A copy of the warrant goes out in the May crier.
I'm heartbroken because I'm out of town that day, but we need to make sure every single family member shows up at that meeting. What if it gets voted down?
That would be a problem.
Kathy, do you have any insight as to the fair board members that were opposed?
Not publicly. Not on camera.
My sense from the meetings I went to is basically just people that are worried about the taxes being raised because of and I think I've said this a number of times in many forums, I'll say it again. Our current select board is not gonna put something on the warrant that has a significant tax increase
Right,
for community
right,
center.
yeah.
So
And we understand that as a committee, so.
which I think I told, I didn't think I know I told the fair board of directors, which they seem to have some comfort in, the group that was at the meeting. is that,
Right,
you know, no one wants to do something that's gonna make a big tax increase. So I think if we can find and I don't know what the way is yet, it's still, but if we can find a way to make this ideally with no tax increase, but certainly without a significant one, then I think all the pieces will fall in place. If this is something that's gonna take a significant tax increase, we're gonna get, it's not gonna happen.
It's not gonna happen, yeah,
So,
if you need drone coverage and actual measurements, I can have Adam do that.
Okay.
No charge, but he can do that. He did Autumn's pit and he did all the measurements and everything, so,
Oh, cool.
yeah. It's pretty amazing what he can do, so.
I'm sure he loves you offering up the services.
I bought him shirts today, he's good.
Spoken like a mom.
Right,
I mean, the biggest reason right now for the right of way is we're kind of at a standstill with any more design.
right,
You don't wanna spend.
Yeah.
Now,
exactly.
what I don't know is, and I guess we find out when we get there. There is money the select board could draw from if they wished to pay for more design. But if we're getting things in that are $300,000,
Yeah,
I'm not so sure that they're gonna say they wanna spend that yet. But they'd probably let us release the RFP. But that'll be the next task, I guess, after we come up with what we need to do to try to work on the TIF amendment, is then next I'll work on the RFP. But I didn't spend any time on the RFP till this part, I knew it was done, because
Yeah.
it was a waste of time.
exactly.
Well, thank you again for your hard work.
You're welcome.
Maybe there'll be less stress in my house.
All right, moving on. The Harriman report.
Well, I have a copy of it. I've gone through. As I said to a few folks before the meeting started, I will be doing the changes. I don't think we'll hear from Mark on any of that. And I've gone through and made the notes on the pages that you want and understand how you want things switched around, and I will do my best to get it done in the next week or two.
Awesome.
Okay?
And I know Kim's not here tonight, but Kim was also very instrumental in going through that with a fine tooth
Yeah,
comb.
yeah, no, her points are great,
Yeah.
and I went through and marked it all up, and I've got all the
Yeah.
different pages and how to switch things, and I will do my best to get it done.
Sweet, appreciate it.
I think that, that's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, I think it'll be quicker,
Yeah.
and not that I'm telling I have a lot of time, because right now, spring, if you know, our office is the craziest, because we're not only doing spring programs, we're doing summer programs. But as of today, I have most of our summer programs and most of summer space reserved and taken care of with the school district, so I think we're good to, you know, that by next week, I should be able to walk in and do a lot of this.
Nice.
And do we think that once that's done, we're still gonna have that like one pager that we talked about at one time? Or is that anything that's
I
gonna?
don't think it was a one pager, I thought it was like
A condensed.
a
Like
condensed
maybe a 10 or
version.
12
Okay.
pages
Yeah.
or something, yeah.
Yeah, I have a copy of that as well that
Okay.
Leslie gave me, so I'll be able to open it up in Adobe and pull those pages out and make,
Perfect.
Right.
what do we wanna call, I don't know what you wanna call it, but supplemental, or
Yeah.
Maybe it'll
I'll
be,
make you all copies of that one in color before the next meeting.
maybe that'll be
Thank
like
you.
our marketing one.
Yeah,
Because I think the full page one would be more like towards grants, or if we're going after like a really big
don't,
donor. And then maybe the smaller one, the condensed one, will be like a marketing one too.
sure.
Just a thought.
Well, thank you to everybody that helped with that. Okay. Moving right along, fundraising capital campaign discussion. And we're back.
And we're back. The never ending. So, the AI session that Steve and Kathy and I went to, I was pretty impressed with the guys. And so I got to thinking, you know, if we're not gonna be able to afford 10 grand a month for a fundraising consultant, right? And that's just too much. So I thought, well, maybe, you know, they had given us a great example, if you remember, Steve and Kathy, of the organic farm that they gave us towards the end, where they, and I can't remember the specifics on those particular slides, but all of the information that they were able to do for that farm. And they just pulled everything from, based on what the farmer gave them for his organic farm, and like what he uses for fertilizer and crops and how much land, and I don't know, did they even do like water usage and stuff? I don't know, they had a ton of information. And they just pulled as much information as possible and gave them basically a plan of what they can do for better crops, increased sales, better use of their land. I mean, I was very impressed with it. I don't know about you guys, if you wanted to speak anything about that, but, so anyway, I sent them an email and I said, hey, can you at least talk to us and see, you know, if you could potentially do something for us using AI, because it cuts out so much back work, right, and research. So on Friday, Kathy and I spoke with Cedric and Matt, and they had another lady, Leilu, that joined them. And so basically what we did is gave them the background, like how this committee got started, how long we've been doing it, some of the bumps that we had, like when COVID came, and now members have changed. And we went over how we differ from other organizations, and I used like the Y as an example. So we don't have our own set of board of directors, and we're not an organization that has staff. It's basically the 7 of us, right? So that kind of changes things as to how the workload and everything gets distributed. And so what they're going to do is they're going to take all that information, and he said it'd take about a couple weeks to send us back basically kind of like a memo form of what they could potentially do for us. And if that's something that we're interested in, then we could move forward again and have them do a proposal. They don't seem to think, based on initial contact, that we need a fundraising consultant. But that's gonna put a lot more work on us, even though a lot will be done with AI. But with their guidance every step of the way. And they're very excited to work with us if possible, because they want to come back to Brunswick and Topsham and visit. Because they're all Bowdoin graduates, right? You know, the only thing is they're technically not fundraising consultants, because their scope of work, they do so much more. And they can pretty much help us with all aspects. So
in a couple of weeks, they're gonna put together not a proposal.
no, it's more like a memo, so we get a better idea of what type of things they can do for us and how they can pull information. And they'll,
Expected cost.
well, the cost is the big thing.
Right.
But I gave them the website so they could look at the feasibility study from Harriman, and they can look at our surveys, and they can even go back to our meeting notes and everything else. And delve into, you know, what the town of Topsham is about.
And one of the
So-
reasons one of the reasons they said, you've already done the work. A professional fundraising consultant is going to teach you how to do surveys and how to tell your story. You already know that. We've done all the research behind it. We know what we want. We know how to tell our story. Lynn can tell our story perfectly if you put a microphone in front of her. So, you know, that's what they were saying, that we've done a lot of hard work that paying someone to help us with probably isn't necessary at this point. But we'll have to see what they propose.
Yeah, the big thing is doing that deep dive into the data. Like, how do you find people in this community that might be willing to be donors? So they can really pull apparently a lot of information like that based on AI, and much quicker and faster than any of us could.
Really curious how it compares price wise.
I know, and until we get to that point, we won't know.
Well, the one good thing is they are a nonprofit that works mostly with nonprofits, so they're used to people that don't have a lot of money.
True.
Yeah. So it, you know,
I'm optimistic.
I
Steve's optimistic.
and I really like them. They're very like humble and down to earth, and
Smart.
I don't feel like they're trying to sell you stuff either, you
Right,
know?
yeah.
It's just really low
They
key,
just seem to
but
wanna be helpful.
very helpful, and their intelligence level, I think, is like up here, like when we went to that class,
Off the
right?
charts, yeah.
You
Those
know,
two kids they were good.
yeah, for sure. So,
And they love Maine, and they don't bat an eye about coming back and talking to us.
Mhm.
They love to come back to their alma mater and
Well, I talked to Cedric and they did the whole farm piece in like 2 hours over lunch.
yeah,
An entire like plan of action.
and that's, again,
Cause
that's
they're just
what,
like, and every time they think of something else, they just add it and
yeah,
it just starts
Mhm.
it changes everything every time you type something in. And they had like 15 bullet points down the left and he's like, watch this. So he typed in a new bullet point and it changed the whole proposal and a video and all this, and it was impressive.
right, so they can help us like with what our goals are, the timeline as to like, for example, you know, in comparison to the 7 steps that the fundraising consultant had, they can essentially do that for us too, saying, okay, this is becomes your statement for fundraising. This is how much you want to raise. This is your time frame. He's like, are you on a rush? I'm like, not exactly. Take your time. But they can help us come up with essentially those same 7 steps. Because in speaking like to the online company, Capital Campaign Pro, Mary Beth, you know, it's that feasibility study. Do we have enough in this town that we can raise $5 million? and granted, I know it's not gonna all come from the town, if we can get grants or other big companies, you know, corporations, but you still need to tell that story and to get the people behind you. And I think, Steve, we had talked about either during or after that session to do like testimonial videos
Mhm.
that we could have people from the community do. And that would be a quick and easy thing that you could email or present if you go somewhere and say, hey, this is what our community is telling you. And they can do all of that for us. So it's a
That's really
lead,
cool.
we'll see where it goes. I know they would be psyched to work with us. So we'll see where it goes.
For the minutes, the name of their company is Project Evident.
Yep.
Interns this summer.
That's what I was debating if I was gonna say now, is that, so we've got 2 interns this summer, one of which, I think she's going to be a junior, and she's one of the editors of the Orient. And the other one's a freshman, who seems to like to write. So when we interview them, we throw out potential projects. One of them I threw out was that trying to find a way to fund this community center, might be looking for people to help us write grants and do that. And trying to remember for sure which ones were interested, but I'm pretty sure at least one of these 2 thought that might be something that'd be, they don't actually choose their project till about 2/3 of the way through June. But I could see maybe some synergistic thing with the Bowdoin grads that are helping.
Right.
First, these guys jump in, and then your friend,
Yeah.
we hold off on that meeting until they're available. And then they
Yeah.
help meet with her, and then everyone's
Yeah.
working together to try to find ways
What
to
about
make
Ben
this.
Affleck? What about Ben Affleck?
I know.
Right. Project Evident can help with searching grants too. I did ask them that.
And actually, there's the McKean Center that first put out the thing that you guys went to, and these interns are from the McKean Center. So that I could,
Well,
that might be
a couple of the kids that were there were actual grant writing, that was like their job. So it could even be the same people that attended that meeting.
Yeah, because a lot of them were freshmen too.
And they talked about writing grants.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
teacher was like, oh, you want to take part of this grant writing? I'm like, oh yeah, we're already working on it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, okay.
that, so I think there may be a role, we let them choose their project, I don't assign their projects.
Yeah.
So, but,
So,
based on the
sure.
ones we're getting, I could see them potentially be interested. So,
Yeah, so if we get, so that was Friday, so if we get that within sometime next week, and then we like how it looks, then we can say, hey, put together a proposal for us, and I'm sure that their turnaround will be quick.
And we will
Sure,
have the
well,
interns at the beginning too. but-
Yeah, so we'll have, definitely all of May.
Of course it'll be quick, they'll have AI.
Because they have AI, right? Exactly.
I don't know if anybody else feels this way, but I kind of feel like we're at a point of, we're all just simmering.
Mhm.
Like we have
Kind of in
so
limbo.
many things kind of like happening, and it's like, this, we'll hear back in a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And Pam's gonna have a couple weeks to work on that, we got a couple weeks, and that's gonna go out to the, so I feel like we're like in a really good spot to just kind of simmer.
I think of us as a little bed of rattlesnakes. And we're all ready, but we're waiting for the right
Ready
place
to
to bite.
see.
So we haven't found it yet, but we'll find something to bite.
Yeah. And we will be ready when the opportunity is right.
Yeah.
But
Because we're gonna have the documents and.
yeah,
Right,
we're gonna have
right.
done the background work
Yeah.
that we need to do, we'll
agreements
have
and-
the
Right.
supporting,
Mhm.
I love the idea of a video,
Yeah,
like, and
And the interns love doing
Mhm.
videos.
yeah, yeah.
Or some have.
Somehow,
Yeah.
last year, I drove them around town as they picked up
That was
video
2 years ago.
footage. That's right, they did.
So-
To do that type of stuff.
So it's funny because the Leilu that had joined, it was her first Friday, it was day 4 working for them, and they're already throwing her on this Zoom call, right? So Kathy, she was real quiet, and then Kathy started talking to her, and, she's like, well, I'm pretty familiar with, Brunswick and a little bit of Topsham, because I went to Bowdoin, and one of my best friends lives, from Bowdoin, lives in Topsham, and I'm like, oh, who is it? Maybe I know the family, and sure enough, I know the family, so I'm like, see, that's that small town connection, But yeah,
A Gagosian, no?
Yes. Yes.
Andrea,
No.
yeah, Emma,
Emma.
yeah.
That was gonna be my guess.
Yeah, yeah. I'm like, yeah, I know her. Her mother's a tennis pro. So that was pretty neat too, to have that connection.
Great.
But
Well, sounds promising.
I would be psyched to work with them, actually, just. You know how you get that vibe, and just an FYI, the other person that we
Gentlemen.
spoke to.
So are you?
Yeah.
The note in the wallet.
Yeah.
Apparently he doesn't like to communicate via email, because I sent him an email over a couple weeks ago, easy, and there's no response, so. Just to let you know.
I think you can say that we looked into it and.
Yeah, I mean, if we can't have that type of, from the get-go, then I don't want it to be another situation where we're waiting months from somebody for info, so. And he had pretty much said on a phone conversation, it would be, the average was the same that Mary Beth had quoted anyway, so.
Yeah.
Due diligence done though, check.
Yep.
I think that's it for me.
Great.
Unless you guys have something to add.
If you guys are willing, I proposed an executive session to discuss use or acquisition of real property for something different than the fairgrounds.
I can do that.
Okay, then I will stop the recording.
Oh, do we
Do we
want to
need to
finish?
review
the
Yeah, finish
minutes
your other
and
stuff. then
Yeah,
I think
yeah,
it's last.
yeah.
Okay, so next on the agenda is review minutes of February 24th meeting. I will actually,
You all have a copy.
yes.
I haven't looked at the Google Drive yet. Is the budget on there?
Yes, I added it after
Okay.
last meeting.
Okay, is it okay to share that then, since it's on the,
It's fine.
okay, because I'm thinking Project Evident would be
Oh,
someone to share it with.
I would need to give them a permission because right now the Google documents are
Oh,
in a
that's
folder
right.
with us
Mhm.
only. So
Okay.
I just need to know which email, whose email I would
you
share.
could also just download it
Yeah, they
Yeah.
could, well, they could, yeah.
so that you don't need
Okay.
to,
They may want it as a
Yeah.
digital copy.
I'll just give you their email then.
Yeah.
That's probably the cleanest way. Okay,
I mean, I won't be making changes, but yes.
yeah,
That
yeah,
way it would.
okay. I don't have any changes or anything on the minutes.
Motion to accept the minutes from February 24th, 2026.
I think, did you say second?
I seconded it.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Leslie was gonna go on, so.
You guys are on it.
Accepted as is, great.
Okay.
Heather, do we have any follow-up action steps that this meeting?
I have that Pam is going to make changes to the report based on the feedback that was given, and she'll distribute that. And then that Lynn will share the memo from Project Evident when she gets that, and then we can move on from there. Those are my action steps. Let me know if I missed anything.
I'm just looking at the action steps from the previous month.
Sure.
One of them being reminder to add names of potential fundraising volunteers to shared lists, so that could be a follow.
You want it to
Go after
continue?
the next, I would think.
I added one.
Added one name, yes, you did.
Oh, you
That's
added
good.
one.
I did add one. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Anything with, I'm sorry, one more on the follow-up action steps from the previous month. It says team to continue reading about capital campaigns, beginning with website Lynn shared. Anything else that we need to do there?
I think so. I think that was just to, she shared the capital campaign website, and it was just so if anyone wanted to dive deeper into the
Yes.
different
Right.
topics.
So that's
yeah.
not a continuation.
I don't
Okay,
think so.
So now everybody's favorite game of let's pick our next meeting.
When should we do it? With all these, this simmering going on?
Well,
Any time you want.
I'm going to be away from the 8th to the 18th. So I'm gonna be gone most of April.
And we don't want to do it the first Monday because that's next week.
Right.
So how about the 20th?
Or the 20th is a holiday.
Oh,
That's
Patriots Day,
Patriots
that's
Day.
right.
That's April
Yeah.
vacation too.
Oh, yeah.
I'll be
I'm,
away.
I'm suggesting the 27th.
Where are you going?
I can do
But-
that.
We may have to be up here. Did they go down there
I don't
through
think they, I
April?
don't think they.
No?
meet,
Okay.
I mean, not even with us.
Cause they were down for last week for some reason. That's how we cause I had made sure that I was making sure the door was unlocked and Jeff had it all set and we figured out they weren't coming.
27th works for me.
Helps for me too.
I'm just checking the calendar to make sure that it is free. And April 20th, 7th looks wide open.
Sorry, downstairs is open
Downstairs is open currently as I see it
at 5:15 still.
at 5:15.
Thank you.
And the only change might be that we have to move up here, but both rooms are free right now.
Thank you.
Yay. Boy, I think that's the easiest we've done in
Mhm.
one in a
And
while.
by then, hopefully the fair will have met and we'll know whether the selectmen have voted to put it on the agenda. So we'll kind of know the direction we're headed.
Do we adjourn the official meeting?
Or if you just, if someone wants to say, because I can't say, because I'm not a committee member, if they want to move into executive session to discuss the use or acquisition of real property.
I want to move into executive session to discuss the use of
Use or acquisition.
or
of real property.
acquisition of property, please.
Second.
All right,